Well, thank you for joining us today. This is Violet's studio, and I'm so excited to have Sue Lyon with us. Sue Lyon was one of the ladies here in Colorado that helped create Quintangled, the game. So if you're a game player, if you love board games, if you love really having lots of fun, then this is a really great game. And we, from time to time at Discover Your Spiritual Gifts, will have game night, and we'll invite Sue down, or we'll try to lead it ourselves, which is always very interesting, but we try. Her passion is so much. She's really great when we have game night. She comes down because she really gets excited and into it and gets everybody in. So Sue, tell me, what brought this game to creation? Like, how did it started? What was the idea? What got it going?
Well, there were actually three of us that developed this game from ground level, from ground zero. Julie Lohr, who is an author and lives in Pagosa Springs, came up with this idea of creating a game around the heroic journey. And, the hero's journey is very ancient. It was Jung and Joseph Campbell who actually kind of brought it into the modern language. But every indigenous tribe have rituals and ceremonies around the hero's journey. Joseph Campbell actually called it the hero's journey, and that's a copyrighted term, so we say heroic journey or heroic quest. But Julie got this idea of creating a game around the wheel. So in a heroic journey, the wheel can be 5 different sides. It can be 12 sides, depending on how deep you want to go. But she thought, wouldn't it be great to dig into all of the information that we have about the elements, about mythical creatures, about the hero's journey and the stations of the hero's journey, and put them together as a board game. So she talked to Karen Stuth, who owns Satyama, and Karen knew me. I didn't know Julie at the time, but Karen knew me as an illustrator. I mean, we knew each other. And she asked me if I'd be interested in being on this team to be the designer and illustrator for it. So the three of us formed this team. What was so cool, and I have worked on a couple other games, but I did it as a group, and the games are based on games that had already been designed, and we changed quite a few of the components, to make it work for the company. But for this one, we created a game literally that had never been done before, and had to come up with a way of making it fun. I told Karen, if I'm going to be on this team, I want the game to be fun first, because I like to play board games, but I'm not one to play a board game that's just philosophical. I needed it to be fun, and they agreed. They wanted it to be fun. But we are also very interested in the history and the philosophy and the spiritual attributes that we tied into the game. We just didn't preach them. Julie has written this really great little booklet that goes with the game that actually talks more in depth about all of the different symbols and that kind of thing in there. But we came up, here's the cover. It's my demo game. Can you see that?
Yep, Quintangled.
So here's Quintangled.
And Destiny. I love it. I love it.
It's Quintangled.
You have characters in it too, like different. You can play different characters. I mean, look at.
Oh yes, I'll show you the cards here. Well, it's Quintangled, a game of strategy, chance, and destiny. it's based on the hero's journey. So as you move around the board, there are requirements. So halfway through the game, you have to go into the abyss and study what you did, that you need to really reflect on. And then when you merge from the abyss, you are like the knight on the white horse. So to start the game, we created 8 characters. Okay, I'll show them to you. So here's the knight, and the knight's animal ally is the steed, and here is the jester, here is the dreamer, the healer, the priestess, oh, she's got power, the sage, oh, the wisdom of her, the lover, and the monarch. Julie was the one that did all this research. She went through all these archetypes. She determined that these 8 archetypes would be appropriate for this game. And she pulled in all of the magical tools, the animal allies, the real depth of the symbolism for each one of these characters. So the very first thing that you do is you throw it's an 8-sided die. You throw the die and you become that character for the whole game, which makes it fun. And it's also kind of a scorecard as well, that you have to do this first, and then you go into the abyss, and then you have to do this on the other side. So here's the board. You tell me if you can see this. Violet, can you see that?
Yep, really still. So on the board, just for those that are looking, it has the elements, fire and water and air and earth, and the corners, so that you have that. The abyss is in the middle of the board. That's where you go. And you move through the board doing different things. So it's a really fun game. You can see the little walkways, and there's things written in some of the squares that force you to go backwards or start over or pick a card. There's all kinds of fun, different avenues to go. What I love about this game, and you and I have talked about it a lot, is each time you play it, it's a different, you can take down different strategies and it's a completely different outcome. Like, it is not the same every time you play it. It's not like, okay, I'm going to outsmart the game this time and I'm going to do this strategy and I'm going to have this outcome. It doesn't work that way like in some games, and that's what I love about it, is every strategy is going to spin it a little differently. It's not the same outcome.
We thank you for bringing that up, because that was one of the things that I had designed, that in the design of the board and how people move around the board, I thought, well, this is real life, that you don't play real life the same way every time you come around. Every time you come around, you play life differently. I mean, different things come up, you make different decisions. One of the things we designed into the game is that you can move any direction on your turn, just so long as you don't backtrack. So you can move forward, you can move backwards, you can fall into a peril, which means you have to stay there, and you either have magical aid to get you out, or you have to draw a fate card, and the fate cards all have something that you have to do. And some of the requirements are going to each of the elements. For example, you were talking about air, fire, water, and whatever it is, air, fire, water, and earth. And each one of those, when you visit that corner, you get to draw a wisdom card. And the wisdom on these cards is really quite wonderful. Julie wrote the wisdom on these. For example, one of the earth cards, here's what the earth card looks like. One of the earth cards is steadfastness. Character is often measured by willingness to stand your ground under fire. So each one of them, preparedness, plan ahead, then look both ways before you leap. So built into the game, when you draw a card, we encourage people to read the card to their, their co-players, to be able to take in some of the symbolism of that element, but also kind of share a really positive part of life. It's just sharing life with each other. So now you can make the decision on the game not to share any of that, not to just to draw your cards. You get points along the way. Oh, I should mention the points. So we there are lots of ways to gain points. One of them is to, draw a wisdom card, which is worth 5 points. When you do your heroic act, you get your little coin right here, and that's worth a certain number of points. And each there are lots of ways that you can gain points. Well, we equate points as wisdom. So the more points you collect, the more that you learn, the more that you are engaged, the more wisdom you gain. And that's kind of the underlying reason for, getting all these points. And of course, in the end, the first person who goes home, you go home the same place that you start the game. The first person that goes home stops the game, but the person with the most wisdom wins the game. That little twist right there at the end. The person that has the most wisdom wins the game of life.
Instead of the one.
And it's great. We played that game, I can't tell you how many times, because we had so many focus groups, and we played the game, and then we make changes, and we'd rewrite the rules, and then we redo this and redo that. And then I finally did the illustrations on all of these and played the game again to make sure our cards were working right. We never got tired of playing the game. And I think it was because we could always take a different path. We could always take a different trajectory. We could always, try to outsmart the other player in a different way. And it just made it fresh every time we played the game. There's a learning curve on the game. We have found that it takes about halfway through for people to go, oh yeah, I get it, and really start using that strategy, that you definitely use strategy to get, to move around the board. But we have also found in all of our focus groups and, teaching at Discover Your Spiritual Gift that people want to play the game again. And that was heartening for us, because that was our goal, to have a game that people could engage in another time and not get tired of the game. So
I think
I'm glad.
It's so much fun, and we set up tables at Discover Your Spiritual Gifts, and we bring in snacks, and everybody sits around the table with new people, and they get to play and connect. But there is a piece of this game that I find quite funny, and so I don't remember what it's called, but it's when you have to do something against somebody else. And the men love to do that, and the women feel really bad about it. So share with me called, but it's fun to watch people when they have to do that. So what is it called?
It's called the Shadow Act. So here's every card right here has a Shadow Act. And based on your character, Julie did a wonderful job of writing all of this, but based on your character, you have to commit a Shadow Act against another person. Now, everything else in there, except you might draw a fate and fortune where you have to ding the other player, but everybody has to do a Shadow Act to be able to go to the abyss. There are certain requirements that you have to do before you can go to the abyss. Remember, the abyss is the cave of darkness right here. and you have to sit there, and there's a a process to get out of the abyss. Anyway, but you have to do your shadow act. And we have found across the board, that women are going, oh, I don't know, how can I lessen the impact of this because I have to commit this to another player? And the men are going, yes, let's make it as hard as possible for that person, It's so funny to watch. And the men, if they get one of these fate and fortune cards that's like sabotage or send another person to the quicksand, it's like they're going, all right, let me choose that player, and the player that might be a little bit ahead of me, I'm going to choose that player and send them back. It's like, they're so funny. It's so funny to watch. Once in a while, you'll get a guy who is going, well, I don't want to make it any harder on the person. But no, for the most part, they are the combatant ones.
It really is funny because the women will pick somebody that has a save card. Like they know that person has a get out of jail card. So if I do my shadow act on them, they can get out immediately and I don't really hurt them that much. And I can say I'm sorry as I do that, but I know you can get out. It's
That's that magical aid. There are lots of ways that you can get this magical aid card. In fact, when you first start the game, you receive 3 magical aid cards, and each one of them has a way that you can get out of a peril, or move across the board in a different way. And most people will put their magical aid face up so they can remember right there next to their play card. So if I have a magical aid, I might put it right here next to my play card. You're right. People will be looking at people, you have to do your shadow act, and they're looking at people's magical aid cards. Well, if I send this person to this particular peril, she'll be able to get out because she has the right magical aid card, which I think is hilarious. I just think it's wonderful. It's so funny to watch. We designed these archetypes right here. So 4 are masculine and 4 are feminine. So the shadow act, the heroic acts that you do for another player after you leave the abyss, all of it is based on the energy of that particular archetype. So each one of them is a little bit different, but women react to them a little bit different than men. It's very funny. It's very funny.
It's an amazing game. I can't say enough about it. It has a lot of really amazing pieces to it. It's not a simple board game with a roll of dice. It has a lot of really cool pieces of coins and things you can put on your card. It's been designed really, really well. It is definitely a fun game. And from a spiritual aspect, having all the elements and having kind of that story that really aligns and the positive stuff that comes in, the wisdom that's gained. It's not only a game, but it's a real sweet experience of working with the elements, understanding how they influence our lives and our journey, and how our journey, because our journey's not always happy and smooth. It doesn't work that way. We run into obstacles and blocks and challenges, and the game shows you a little bit of that too, which is really, really important to have, because that's what life is about. So I love this game, and we sell it at the store. And didn't it win an award, or was up for award? Isn't it up? Because I voted on it recently. I think it was. Where are we at on that?
Do you see 3 awards on that? Oh yeah, they're seals. We entered the game into the cover awards last year, the Coalition of Visionary Resources, and not only did it win a gold award in its category, but it also so each category, there's a big category and then there's subcategories. So it won its gold in the subcategory, but in the big category, it won the Industry Choice and it won the People's Choice Award. So we were thrilled about that. Because the Industry Choice are those people who are members of Cover, who are store owners, who are bookshop owners, you know, they have their own businesses that actually voted for this game, and it came in #1. People's Choice are for people like us, you know, who enjoy playing the game, and that came in #1 as well. So we were very thrilled about that.
It's an amazing game, and I voted, of course. I voted for it.
Thank you.
I love to see it come through. You know, I just want to tell people that may be watching, always check our event calendar, because we love to offer game night. We tend to do them in fall and winter when people are in and they're kind of stir crazy and they want something to do. So we like to put game night out there and have Sue come down. She's always willing to come down at least once or twice in the fall, winter to kind of do game night. So we try to do that. And then when I'm trying to fill gaps, like if we don't have events or something, I'll put game night in as a last resort. As we open the retail store, we may have opportunities to do games in the store, depending on, you know, when we can all gather again and that's not an issue, so that people could come in. Because I plan on having a table in the store with a few chairs so I can see people sitting around and getting to experience it or observe it on a Saturday, and having Sue come down and just, you know, guide people through the game and get people excited and interested in the game. So that's my goal too. So always check our calendar of events. We always post in our newsletter when we have stuff happening. Thank you, Sue, for sharing. I love these games.
Thank you.
And I love having you, and thank you so much for always coming down to the center and doing fun stuff with us. I love your passion. I love having you around to show people how to play the game, because then they really get into it, because Sue gets really excited. Okay, you have to shadow act.
I'm a kid. I'm a kid at heart, you know. Thank you, Violet. This is great. It's wonderful to talk about the game. I'll send everyone with Jester energy here from our interview. Jester energy is learning to laugh at life and laugh at yourself and just have a good time. So I think that's what we're being asked to do right now.
I love that. I love that. I love that. So come in the store, check it out. And check out our calendar, ask our staff when we're going to have another one. As soon as we can gather more people together, we'll definitely get it on the calendar. I want to have some next fall and winter, depending on how the climate is. It's a fun game to play, and we have a really good time. Thank you, Sue, for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching, everyone. Check out our newsletter and all of our events. We really appreciate you. Stay safe out there and keep watching. Awesome.
Discover connection, awaken sacredness, become empowered. Come experience a difference and discover your spiritual gift.